On the evening of Christmas 2012, my life changed radically and instantly. I was transformed. But what does that really mean? And why? How? Welcome everyone to Refire, a podcast where we will talk about transformation, not just as a moment in time or a singular event, but as a journey. So join me on my journey, where I hope together we can explore the commonalities of struggle, the uniqueness of struggle, the differences and similarities we have, and a space we can create, I hope, to learn together. So here we are, episode 1, an episode I have decided to call In the Weeds. On November 16th of 2012, I found myself in an unimaginable and awful situation. And beyond just being unimaginable and awful, it is a situation I had found myself in for the third time in 5 years. I was overwhelmed by life. I was really unable to see clearly who I was or how I interacted in the world. And I was lost. I was completely and totally in the weeds. For anyone who has never heard that phrase before, who has never worked in a restaurant, I'm going to take this first episode to explain and to just really highlight some areas of my journey and that journey and how they, for me, really resonate to the conversation I hope to begin here in this space. If you've not ever worked in a restaurant, let me explain. For me, I held lots of different roles in a restaurant. And one I held for a long time and really enjoyed was being a server. As a server in a restaurant, you're a part of a team. You have tables that you're responsible for. You have many things you have to do to provide an experience for people who come and sit at that table. And as a shift can go along, as a night can go along, more and more activity builds. And sometimes you just get overwhelmed. For me, I know oftentimes you didn't even realize when the point came where your work, your situation was unmanageable. You couldn't really see what was happening. And then, seemingly in an instant, a moment of clarity. Whoa. What am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing. How did I get here? I worked in restaurants for 17 years, and that journey, those words I said more times than I guess I care to admit. But I think what is important is that in my life, in my journey, that restaurant experience mirrored my life experience. It's amazing to me, for so many years, I really thought that was only my experience. And I think in part, I really wanted to challenge myself to make this podcast and begin this conversation with all of you, just to continue to hear the stories, to hear your stories, to be available to answer your questions, to grow and to change. For me, growing and changing is not really something I did for a long, long time. In 1995, I found an amazing community within restaurants. For me, as a late bloomer, and I think in a lot of ways an awkward kid, it became this fraternity, maybe, of misfits and vagabonds. And I think one that I was never really accepted into, but getting a job in a restaurant, you just gained instant access to this community. And I think I dove in head first. I was naturally gifted because of that. I was appreciated and accepted. And really, that environment allowed me to thrive. Maybe not really ever as me, but as an easy person for me to become and grow in. Pretty quickly in that summer of 1995, my life really became unmanageable. I already had entered into a world where, for me, today, I can say a pace and an abundance, maybe even a gluttony that could happen in work and play, overwork, overplay. I was never designed to healthily navigate it. I was all or nothing. I'm still all or nothing. But I had community. I had a job I loved. It wasn't even really work. I oftentimes think back to that summer in 1995, and I don't really know when work ended and play started. I think it was just one big, endless summer. And I didn't ever want that feeling to end. I didn't ever want the party to end. And often I made sure it didn't. It's amazing for me how quickly I really didn't see how off I had become, how far I was moving from who I really was. But I was having fun. And it wasn't all terrible. There were achievements and accolades and friends. But there were broken relationships, strained relationships, confusion I inflicted and brought upon a lot of people. So, pretty quickly, my life became unmanageable. I couldn't really see who I was and how and why everyone around me didn't just behave as I seemed to think they should. And every now and again, I'd have moments of clarity. Man, how did I get here? I don't even remember what happened last night. Scary words and words I share vulnerably and not proud by any means. So from 1995 to 2007, my life happened with varying degrees of success and failure, and in many ways just an inability to really understand who I was, how I interacted in the world, and why I did what I did. And I can say now that I never really wanted to figure it out. In 2007, the wheels really came off. And from 2007 through 2012, while there were pockets of time where life was really good, life was really a struggle. And why me? Why not me? What do you really do with all of that? I don't mean for it to be so heavy and somber. I could share crazy stories and crazy anecdotes, but I think what's important to note is somewhere in that journey was the beginning of unmanageability. While I may not have seen it, it's an important marker in the journey to transformation. And I've acknowledged that I now know I couldn't see the forest for the trees. Again, a really important marker in the journey to transformation. And a moment of clarity, of which I had many. Never again. Never again, Ron. I told that to myself. I told it to family. I told it to loved ones and friends again and again and again. So why, on Christmas of 2012, 16 or so years of struggle, confusion, insane repetition of behaviors, why on Christmas Day of 2012, when I said I'm done, did it all change? It's remarkable and unbelievable, and for me it was a faith experience. For me, the hole inside of me that I could never fill in an instant was filled. And I was done figuring and fighting and wrestling and struggling. I was so very tired. I let go. And from that moment to today, my life has been different. It hasn't always been easy. It hasn't always been comfortable. But it's been good. It's been good. So my hope is together we can continue this conversation of transformation. And in our next episode, really start to break down the journey. And for those of you watching or listening who have any memory of me or were a part of that journey, thank you, and I'm sorry. I laugh not because it's funny, but because I've done a lot of reflecting lately, and my journey has made me who I am today, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful. So thank you for listening today. Thank you for watching. And together we'll continue this journey to maybe better understand how universal struggle really is. What's your struggle? What's your story? I hope to have some friends and mentors and peers from along my journey speak into this, share more about who we are, how we're connected, and why we must do this journey together. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you soon.